All about the people, the pundits, and the politicians. And it's time for the pundits now. Let me introduce them to you before we get started and hear the conversations. We have a lot of data for you now as well. I am so glad to be joined by Dr. Mary Madenge, who's from the Tegemeo Institute at the Egerton University. Thanks for joining us. Dr. James Nyoro, a face that's not new, especially when discussing issues of food security and agriculture in the country, also advised the president on this issue up until a short while ago. And then Anzetsa Were, who's a development economist, a regular with us here on KTN News. So we will be discussing all of these issues surrounding food security in this country and what are the structural problems and how do we solve those problems. We're coming to them in a moment. Remember, the hashtag is Kivumbi 2017. But first, maize farmers and millers have blamed the counties for killing the agriculture sector. They argue that governors have neglected agriculture for more lucrative projects like infrastructure. But governors have defended themselves on this issue. Here is the response from the counties.
I would say that our farmers really did their part in terms of tilling their land, planting the maize. And you see, issues like now the drought is a natural calamity. And that is why we want to promote irrigation in the county so that our farmers stop relying on rain-fed agriculture. Because as long as we depend on that, then every year around we will be crying about the drought and food shortage and so forth. So we want to go into irrigation. And that is why even as a county, we want to enhance the mechanization of our agricultural mechanization station. We want to purchase more equipment that will be able to construct water pans and dams in our county so that our people can be able to use that for irrigation and they're able to irrigate their crop, and this issue of maize shortage will no longer be an issue. We have done our part. As county, we have ensured, like when we are registering our farmers to get the inputs, we have done that. We get the list from the farmers, we certify it with our agricultural officers on the ground, and we send it to Nairobi. Mm-hmm. And then the role of Nairobi is to ensure that they authenticate the list and they send it back to our depots around here. So we do our part, and we also expect them to do their part. So as the county government, we are doing our part, okay. Yes, in the agriculture sector.
In the projected revenues for 2017-2018 is Kenya shillings 1.5 trillion. It is important for Kenyans to know, albeit regrettably, that the constitutionally mandated mediation process that was constituted between the two houses of parliament collapsed due to lack of consensus. This therefore means that the county governments might go into the new financial year without their budgets in place, hence stagnating development and ultimately leading to chaotic transition process. The constitution obligates counties to not only develop their budgets after the approval of the Division of Revenue, after the approval of the Division of Revenue bill by Parliament. And this state of affairs is very, very, very serious. We do not understand as a Council of Governors, and I'm sure even Kenyans don't understand why the National Assembly would want to reduce allocation to counties, even from the proposal that was given by Treasury. Treasury gives a proposal, and the Treasury has the technical capacity to assess the needs of the national government. And then the National Assembly decides that it must reduce that money that is supposed to go to the counties. We are asking for an amicable resolution of this matter between the two houses of parliament, but a resolution that does not put counties in any financial strain that counties have been going through for the last 4 years that we have been in office.
All right, so that's the county government defending itself over this issue. So, Dr. Nyoro, let's start with you. We seem to forget quite a bit in this country that agriculture is a devolved function. And in the situation we find ourselves now, more people have been crying out to the national government as opposed to the county government. What do you think about the role of the county government thus far in agriculture, in ensuring that the country is food secure?
Two issues on that. I think the first one is true. Agriculture is devolved. When allocation of revenue is done, the counties are given a blank check. They are given all the money. They decide to allocate whatever proportion to whatever sector. And in most of the counties, the allocation, and Mary is here, they've done some work in Tegemeo. The allocation to agriculture is very insignificant because, like, somebody said there, it's easier to see roads. It's much more difficult to see mangoes that probably you start to harvest after 7 years. So, yeah, on that part, I don't think the counties have done a good job. There are some counties that actually started to subsidize, like fertilizer. But remember, some of these counties started with buying tractors, starting to do things that government tried to do 20 years ago and failed. So that is one part of the story that, to a large extent, you can blame the counties for the work that they are supposed to do that they have not done, though they have been allocated resources. On the other hand, food security is a national goal. It is just like national security. Police has not been devolved.
Yeah.
So what we did was, when we devolved, we did not establish what I would call a national goal and target to say this is a country called Kenya. Its consumption on maize is X now, and it's going to be Y over the next couple of years. And we are going to produce this Y in these 15 counties that has a comparative advantage of producing maize. And our role as national government is going to be A, the role of the county government is going to be C, and the role of the private sector is going to be D. You don't have that document. You don't have a master plan that guides the country on that food security.
All right, an interesting question there about a master plan guiding the country on food security. And we've put some data together on budget allocations in the sector of agriculture from the financial year 2013-2014 to the current one. We will have those running on our screens for you to just take a look at, as we carry on. So you can take a look at, when Jubilee first came to power, 8 billion to ongoing projects to address famine, turn farming into an income-generating business. There was 8 billion to all of these ongoing irrigation projects like Bura, Hola, Ahero, Mwea, and Pekera. And then there was also 2 billion that was set aside for agribusiness to eliminate the risk for commercial banks giving loans to farmers. Now, we'll keep taking a look at many of these as we carry on with our discussion. But Dr. Madenge, let's talk to you because you've worked with the counties. Are you seeing these sort of allocations that are going towards it? Like Dr. Nyoro says, this is also a national function that they must allocate funds for. Are the funds going to the projects that would have the best output?
Yvonne, I think I want to concur with James here that while agriculture is a devolved function, we don't find the allocation to agriculture as required.
So these figures that we're seeing on our screens aren't enough?
Not really, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. But at the county level, you find, in fact, Kenya, we are under the Malabo Declaration, we are supposed to allocate 10% of our budget to agriculture. That should cut across through the national government and the county government. And if I may just talk about last year, the national government, this current year, the national government is about 1.7%. If we assume even at best that the counties are going to agree or comply with the Malabo Declaration and put 10%, in total we are having 3%. So ideally, you find that we are not putting enough, both at the county level and even at the national level. But if I may just speak at the county level, you find that even the allocation is a bit misplaced in a way, because you find that there is money for recurrent salaries, but there is no fuel, or there is a vehicle, there's no fuel to go to meet the farmers for extension. And then you have the allocation into things that are really seeable, and I guess that's about politics. So we do have a problem. But I would also add that in addition that we are one country and we should think about food security as a nation, We also find the coordination between counties, across counties, and within the national to achieve national objectives is not very clear. And so counties are working on their own, rightly so, to produce what they think will bring money to their counties. And so you find most of them going into horticulture. And so what happens? And I think one time the governor of Uasin Gishu said our county will be growing passion fruits and so forth.
Right.
So as a country, we need to know where will maize come from, and if everybody is on his own. And if I may also add one little thing there, is that while we were to devolve some functions, they were not just supposed to, according to the Constitution, it was not a wholesome thing that you devolve everything. It was as counties get ready. And I think we moved pretty fast to devolve everything without checking, is there capacity? Absolutely. Is there, you know, what will counties do with this? Are there even human resources to do certain aspects? So really, I think there is something that didn't go right there.
Okay, and let's say, while we talk about all of that, let's also remember and remind ourselves that we find ourselves in this situation perennially, almost year after year. We have a problem with food security in the country. The maize that we have in our strategic grain reserves is hardly ever enough, I think, unless I'm wrong, but I stand corrected, but hardly ever enough to feed the populations. So how did we get here? How do we get here year after year? What's wrong? What's structurally wrong?
Well, there are two things. First is, it's just to concur with what the two panelists have said. In the work that I've done with counties, as they rightly articulated, there's no clear delineation between what national should do and what counties should do. Now, when I talk to county governments, their typical response is, well, they don't allocate us enough money, so we're really squeezed financially. That's why we're not prioritizing agriculture. But I think one of the problems that we're going to have is that until county governments begin to account for their funds properly, it will be very difficult to find out how they're actually spending the money. That's part of the problem we're having. There was a study done by the International Budget Partnership, which is a non-profit that looks at fiscal policy and implementation at national level in Kenya and at county level. And if you look at those figures, only 2 out of 47 counties have published what should have been published according to the Public Financial Management Act. So the reality is that we have a sense of how counties are financing, but because we don't have the details, even if you were to give them strategic advice of allocate 10% to your budget, we don't know how we can't track it. And that's why the Auditor General was saying that there's money unaccounted for. We're not saying that it's been embezzled, but we're saying that we don't know how you guys are using this money. So even strategic reallocations become a bit difficult. So that's one of the problems, is that at county level, they really need capacity building and support to use the systems in the PFMA, as per the PFMA, so that we can begin to see what effect increasing or changing allocations will have on food security and on agriculture. So I think that's a procedural issue that needs to be dealt with. I think in terms of the larger issue, beyond the lack of clarity of the roles, is that there are just sort of structural things that the agricultural sector, from an economic point of view, in terms of monetary impact, has a problem. First is, often when the maize is produced, there's a glut in the market. So often what happens is that the farmers get less than they could be getting. So what happens is that they sell most of their maize at a lower price, and then the months go on, the maize gets distributed, or a lot of it is lost in post-harvest losses. About 35% of maize doesn't even hit market. So then that's lost. And then a few months later, they need to buy maize, and they buy it at a much higher price because that glut has now been dissipated. So there's that issue of storage and warehouse facilities. And the government is working on this with organizations like the World Bank and the IFC to set up warehouses and warehousing receipt systems so that people can store their produce, and so that they can also get loans against that produce that they can then put into inputs and fertilizers and all of these other things. But the scale is very small, and it needs to be expanded so that the economic conundrum that farmers find themselves in, where maize farmers are buying maize, you know, at a much higher price than at which they sold it, it's a problem that we really shouldn't be having.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about this not just with maize, but when you take a look at sugar. I remember, and that's we had you over when we were talking about sugar in the country, when there was that row with the importation from Uganda. So, you know, just what is going on with some of these basic commodities? The farming, is it efficient? The post-harvest, like, at what point, you know, are we facing challenges with agriculture in general, Dr.?
You know, Yvonne, there's a temptation to think that this problem started with devolution. Actually, if anything, the problem started way before devolution came in. Yeah. So I think devolution is adding insults to injuries. Way back, and Mary here know that from the end of 70s, beginning of 80s, we started to identify that we were developing a gap between the amount of food we were producing and the amount we were consuming for key food commodities. We are talking about maize, wheat, rice, and sugar. We started to see a gap starting to develop. Before then, Kenya was self-sufficient, if you want to use that term, on key food commodities. In fact, we used to export.
So
there were times we export. So now, over time, the population was growing, and yet our productivity, which is the yields we are getting per unit area, was not increasing. Instead, the increase that we have seen, which a lot of people in government will be telling you about, was because of expanding area. So over time, of course, there's a limitation of the area you can expand.
True.
So even in a normal year, forget about the situation we have gotten in now and before devolution. Even in a normal year, as we talk today, Kenya is spending, and Mary may correct those figures, Kenya is spending in excess of 130 billion shillings to import basic food commodities. We are importing almost about 75% of our wheat needs. We are importing over 65, if not 70% of our rice needs. We are importing about 45% of our sugar needs. We are actually importing about 25 to 30% of our maize needs.
Wow.
It's only that we are fed by Tanzania and Uganda.
Right.
So this problem has been there over time.
And this time around, they're also
now,
going through the drought
it makes
that
a bad situation worse when it is a drought year, when Southern Africa has been experiencing food shortage, when there is fighting in Southern Sudan, and therefore food is now flowing towards those directions, and it is an election year. That's why we are all talking about this. But we talk about this, and you know that. We talk about it every year.
That's right.
So in essence, what we are saying is we are a country that should have sat many years back. And I was an architect, among the architects of Vision 2030. And I think we were very superficial in terms of agriculture in Vision 2030. And we should have strengthened, because I think if you look at what Vision 2030 says about agriculture, which is correct, that agriculture should be considered to be a productive sector. A productive sector means you put in money and you get money back. Our attitude in the national government and even in the county government is that we should consider agriculture like health, meaning you put in money, nothing will come back in monetary terms out of it. Now, we need to distinguish that, and that's why we talk about agri-business, because agriculture then is business. So this has been a time bomb. It's only that we have now stepped on the bomb and it has exploded.
Indeed. And Mary, every time we talk about this issue, we talk about our dependence on specific foods and on maize only. We're currently conducting a poll. Lofty Matambo is out in the streets of Nairobi asking people what they would give up. And we were watching that poll as they were tallying the votes. And I think, 15 of those that voted said they can do without milk. Only one person said they would do without unga. But how long does this take, for us to start to change people's culture and attitude? And sometimes, in a sense, people say, but why should we change what we want to eat? But just hold that thought. Let's follow with what the vote is like. And it's carrying on. And it was quite hilarious when we were seeing that voting and tallying. And we tried to sort of make sure we do it in a manner that is free, fair, and credible on this issue. So, Lofty, the last time we spoke with you, it was 15 people that said they can do without milk, just one person saying he can do without unga, and Sukuma Wiki as well. Is the voting still going on? Are we still doing some more voting or tallying? What's the latest?
Thank you very much, Yvonne. The voting is still on. Remember, the question is, what product can you sacrifice? What have you sacrificed as food prices remain high? So the voting is still on. In a while, we'll be counting the votes according to various products that we've mentioned. Sukuma Wiki, maziwa, there is unga, and also sukari. Sukari was leading, actually, sukari and maziwa. So we'll need to find out by the end of this voting which product is leading. What can you sacrifice? So the returning officer, Shem, is assisting me, distributing the voting materials. Those are voting papers, yellow, green, blue, and pink. So voting, you can vote. Choose your color. Yes. Let me assist here, Yvonne, with the voting. Yours is blue.
Yes.
Blue is here. Blue is there. That's unga. So that's what you sacrificed. Unga. Thank you. Aha. Yes. Actually, you can vote from in front there, from ahead, so that you see exactly where the labels are. Yes. Mzee, just come closer here. Let me talk to you probably. Jina lako unaitwaje?
Paul Sukut.
Unaitwa?
Paul Sukut.
Paul?
Sukut.
Paul Sungut.
Sukut.
Sukut.
Yes.
Yes. Hebu niambie umechagua unga. Yes. Umesema ulisacrifice unga. Yes. Wakati gharama ya maisha imepanda. Kwa nini?
Kwa maana hiyo unga nikikosa hata sisi zote watoto kwa nyumba. Naonekana sasa mambo yamekuwa yameharibika. Kwa maana ugali kikosa hakuna kitu kingine taweza kula kuliko
hebu kidogo tu mwenzangu Shem kidogo tu wapitie nyuma chungulia alafu uweke
kuliko ugali.
Naam. Kwa hiyo
hakuna kitu mzuri kama ugali. Naam. Ugali kikosa ujue shida, sasa ujue hiyo nyumba amekuwa shida.
Lakini unasema ulisacrifice ugali, uliishi bila ugali kwa maana gharama maisha imepanda. Kwa nini?
Siwezi kosa ugali. Siwezi kosa ugali.
No.
Ugali siku hizi yamekosa.
Now, Yvonne, clearly this is a spoiled vote, so let's move on to another person. Yes. Jina lako labda waitwaje?
Naitwa Paul.
Paul nani?
Ndungu.
Ni kipi ambacho uliweza kuachilia ama kusacrifice wakati ambapo gharama maisha imepanda?
Niliwacha mambo ya sukuma kwa sababu nilijaribu kusaja hizo pesa ndio nipate pesa za kununua unga. So ilibidi niwache kitu kama sukuma na ndio niweze kupata kwa afford sukari, unga, na kwa sababu ukiwa na sukari unaweza kula ugali na sukari na maisha isonge mbele.
Ugali na sukari.
Yeah.
Asante. Interesting Yvonne, ugali sukari. Huyu jamaa sijifanya anapiga simu, acha nichukue maoni yake. Unaitwaje wewe?
Naitwa Samo Bura.
Nitakushikia mikrofoni. Unaitwa?
Samo Bura.
Ni umechagua kitu kipi ambacho ulisacrifice ili maisha yasonge wakati wa mfumuko wa bei?
Maziwa.
Kwa nini maziwa?
Waje maziwa anaweza kana bila kuitumia, lakini unga anaweza koroga uji asubuhi and then kufika kitu kama saa 6 na usiku nikakula. Kitu kama hiyo.
Asante sana. My returning officer Shem, if you could kindly come closer. Tunahesabu kura Yvonne hapa kwa sekunde 30 ama dakika moja tuweze kujua ni ipi. Kwa hivyo nafikiri sote kabisa tumeona masanduku yamefungwa. Tutafungua hapa, hakuna rigging. So let's see how the voting pans out. Live from Kencom, this is truly Kivumbi on KTN News, of course. Kwa hivyo hapa ni sukari. Naam. So tuhesabu pale kura za mwisho ya 3. Naweza hesabu na mimi. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Kura 20 votes kwa sukari. Wengi wanasema wanaweza kuishi bila sukari. Walijinyima sukari. Hapo ni naam, agent wote nafikiri mmeona. Santa sana. Kura ngapi? Kuna spoiled vote moja ambayo imeingia sukari, imeingia kwa unga. Unga kura 2. Hatari kubwa. Jamaa hawawezi kuishi bila unga. Santa sana. Tusonge kwa sukuma wiki. Kura ngapi? 1, 2, 3. Yvonne, the voting is ongoing. Yes, that is maziwa. Aha. Maziwa. Aha. Asante. Let's avoid rigging. Aha. Okay. Thank you very much. My presiding officer, 3, 4, munisaidi, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So, Yvonne, this contestant by the name Maziwa is taking the lead. Kwa hivyo, huyu mgombeaji ambaye ni Maziwa amechukua kura 29. Kwa hivyo, labda nichukue maoni ya mwisho kabla ya kuregesha kwake Yvonne. Sijazungumza nawe. Umepigia kura mgombeaji upi?
Sukari.
Umepigia kura mgombeaji sukari. Kwa nini umesema unaweza kuishi bila sukari maisha yakiwa yamepanda juu?
Unajua, kwanza kila chakula iko na sukari. Na kama kila chakula iko na sukari, ninaweza kuridhika na ile yenye iko huko kwa chakula. Ile iko kwa chakula niachane na hii yenye ninanunua. Pia sukari pia unajua bei yake inaandamana na house rent. So ukinunua sukari mara 3 hivi, hiyo ni house rent. Afadhali niachane na sukari.
Naam, haya yote ambayo yametendeka hapa ni kuonyesha kwamba hali si hali. Je, unaona tunaelekea wapi? Suluhu litoke wapi?
Nafikiria, unajua wakati tunaangalia economy yetu mahali penye tumefikia, kuna kitu moja mimi huwa ninajaribu kuelewa. Sio kwamba hii hali ambayo tunayoiangalia sasa hii ni hali ambayo haijakuwa kutoka nyuma. Wakati mtu anasema ni kiangazi nini, tumekuwa na kiangazi wakati mwingi. Lakini unajua tunaelekea elections. Mimi kulingana na mimi nafikiria kuona kwamba kuna mtu anachangia kuficha hizi bidhaa ndio zikuwe kama campaign tu.
Asante sana. Maoni ya mwananchi, kuna mtu ikuwe campaign tool. Thank you very much, Yvonne. Those are the views from the voters voting against Sukuma, others against Maziwa, Unga, and of course, Sukari. Back to you in studio.
Thank you, Lofty, for conducting a free, fair, and credible process. I think we have all witnessed the vote counting and tallying. So some interesting things that are coming out of that there, and we've been watching and following that. So 29 people say they can live without milk. 20 say they've cut out sugar. And there was that interesting comment that, a lot of foods have sugar. Your reaction to this, Mary, this is really raw sentiment and feedback from the people. Some serious sacrifices are being made.
Yes, clearly so. Of course, from a research background, I want to ask how they did the sampling, whether there is any bias.
Extremely random.
But I do understand. It's fair. Yes. We all can witness. But by and large, I think you asked the question, what about people's preferences?
Yeah.
I think it's difficult to change people's preferences, directly, because people eat what they want. Yeah. And so I think as a country, we must first of all right now appreciate that maize is a major food commodity, and therefore what needs to be put in it needs to be done that.
Yeah.
But I can say from our data, from our research that we have seen, there's some good news. The per capita consumption of maize meal is reducing.
Okay.
We used to talk about 98 kgs of maize per person. I couldn't believe I take that myself per year.
Yes.
But now it's gone down to 70. Some studies are even talking about 68. So you find there is a decline in the consumption. And very interestingly, the results show that while there is actually a decline in the entire maize meal consumption. There is more decline in posho meal and an increase in sifted meal.
Okay.
So, but people are also increasing their consumption of rice, their consumption of matoke, and their consumption of a bit of wheat, but not maybe for high-income households.
Yes, yes.
And so we find there are those changes happening.
Changes are happening
But
in their
because
diet.
of population increase, we still are maintaining the same, if not more, in terms of what we need as a country.
All right, just hold that thought. James, you know, this is often a political issue. Many will remember when a particular politician who is today a diplomat said something in a rather crude manner, but underlying there was a message when he said, you know, Kenyans should start to think about eating rats. Perhaps not the best of analogies to make, but how long does a cultural process like this take? And should we be forcing people to eat things they don't want to eat? Shouldn't a government say, shouldn't we tell our government this is what we want to eat, and shouldn't they be the ones to make sure that, you know, we get the food that we want?
No, I don't think so. I don't think you can force people to eat what they don't want to eat. You know, in economics, what you do is you set incentives to people to shift towards a particular direction. Like, for instance, if the government had problems with maize and seeing that there may be some difficulties of bringing in maize, what could have happened is bring in rice from Pakistan, but make sure that you subsidize rice more than maize, so that when you go to the supermarket shelf, you find that the rice is much cheaper than you thought. And people start moving towards that direction. Now, what Mary is presenting is a bit interesting, and we should not take it for granted, because if per capita consumption has come from 98 to 67, as she is saying, then it must be accounted by something else. What we need to understand is what that something else is. Under normal circumstances, it could be wheat. But as we are saying, we are also importing wheat. So, you know, it's like jumping from hot pan to the fire. But let me say this. The results that you have just seen is very consistent even with the theory of the poor people and consumption habits of the poor people. The poor people starts with getting food that provides them with energy. And that will be unga, and that will be, you know, sukuma wiki, and so on. It is when they get to a particular stage and they start earning a particular level of income that they move to milk and protein. So that is very consistent. Whether, you know, Mary the sample was good or not, you know, I do not. I think it's really good.
Okay, hold that thought, please, because we want to take a break and come back. And even you mentioned a very interesting topic of subsidies, and that's been a big one right now with the subsidies that are, you know, now unga is 90 shillings for a 2-kilogram bag. We'll be talking about subsidies. Who is being subsidized? Is it the right person? And is this sustainable? Hold that thought, ladies, gentlemen, and we will get back to this very interesting conversation. Please do keep the comments coming in. Zinzi Kibiku and Hassan Juma are taking a look at your feedback at KTN News.